Hey everybody, Edo here, and as has become a tradition on this channel, Pencil First Games is about to launch a new Kickstarter. It's for Vineyard, a winemaking game, and the Kickstarter is on February 11th, no time at all from now. And what I do is I do a breakdown of all of the different things we've changed on the campaign, like what tools we're using, what new techniques, what I did differently on this campaign. And I think it's really important to think about this because really the platforms, market, games, everything's changing all the time. So it's just important as a creator, as somebody doing Kickstarters, to both understand sort of what works and what's stable, and all the places where things have changed or opportunities for improvement or new ways of doing things, etc. So I try to think openly and try new things, and so I'm going to share that back. Vineyard, just to give a baseline, this has actually been in development for a long time because originally this was a game that I had been spearheading at Blue Fang Games, which is a video game company. Unfortunately went under for other reasons, but I had the opportunity to acquire a lot of the sort of smaller projects that we had been working on that didn't come to fruition, and this was one of them. And I'd always really wanted to bring it back, and then Pencil First Games, this is like a decade ago or more, but Pencil First Games making games. And so Legendary Creatures, you probably can't see it from behind me, was another one of these games. And Vineyard's always been something I've been trying to do, and I've been working with a variety of designers to sort of get it in the right place. But it wasn't until really I started working with Roberta Taylor that it came to life. And so Vineyard is a shared worker placement and action selection game. So it's a little bit of like worker placement where we're all managing the same workers throughout the vineyard, and we're all working to go through this winemaking process. And it has action selection a la Concordia, where you're sort of picking up cards and playing them down, but it's based on your workers, and you can upgrade the cards and upgrade the workers. Super, super fun. But this is about the Kickstarter specifically. So one of the things that comes up with Kickstarters is sort of expansions or mini expansions, or like what other stuff is in the game. We had sort of gone down paths with this where we did some modules, we did some legacy content at one point or another. It's been on an adventure, but ultimately we went back to what I've generally done with Pencil First Games. So, just about everything's in the box. And this box is effectively what will be a more expensive retail product from the Kickstarter. But then we also have one of our mini expansions. So mini expansions usually like, I don't know, 5 to 20 cards, sometimes full-size cards, sometimes smaller depending on the game, and that will typically retail from the value on it's free on the Kickstarter, and then after the Kickstarter it's a $5 purchase, but it doesn't go to retailers unless they back the Kickstarter. But in particular, it's available through our web store. So it's effectively a $5 value add to the game. And actually, this one's really fun. But that's how we do it, and it fits in the box as well. So that's pretty consistent with us. Also, we still are doing solo. Solo's been a huge boon, and we really love solo gamers. And so this has a solo mode. My notes are up here as well. And I guess one thing that was different is we have typically done inserts. This insert got complicated. This game has little plastic standees, and which look great. Let me see if I can grab one here. They're like fantastic. We did, I don't know if it'll read well from the camera, but this technique is great. They're really high quality, and the color and the characters are awesome on it. But so we did all these things. We need to make an insert that really captured it. And for this one, we worked with a professional insert designer to really get the results. So the last thing I'll call out is we also went through a process of working with our manufacturer to do early samples. So originally, you work on your pen and paper design. We'll typically work with Game Crafter to do like another better version of that. But I've actually, the last couple games, moved to the point where we actually work with our printer to do an early sample set that's actually more part of the manufacturing process. It's actually not that much more expensive than if you do it with the Game Crafter, because I like the Game Crafter a lot, but they're not like that much cheaper. But in particular, you have to have all your files sort of set up. So even if you're still working and adjusting, you like sort of are more like what you're going to be in the final. And so it's just more true to the final copy, and it just reduces chances of mistakes later. So those are all things that are sort of different at the manufacturing level. But then at the Kickstarter level, there have been a lot of significant changes. So for one thing, Kickstarter has been doing a really nice job of integrating a variety of new features. And I'll say other platforms like BackerKit or GameFound or whoever have been, I would say, pushing the bar further and further and further. And to some degree, Kickstarter has been catching up in certain regards. But there's just a lot of new stuff that they've put into their toolkit. And we evaluate the other platforms every cycle. So every time we're going to do a new Kickstarter, we do a new crowdfunding campaign, we consider Kickstarter and other platforms. So far, we've yet to make a leap and a jump. And in some regards, it's because of the type of content we make. These sort of gateway, family-friendly, or nature titles aren't necessarily the types of games that have really excelled on those other platforms. I think when we get to the next Skull Hollow game, Knoll Creek, I'm going to look again and think if it's the right spot. But Kickstarter it is, and here are all the new things that we're using from Kickstarter this cycle. So one, they've updated their landing page. So more than just a static image with the, a sign up, their landing page now lets you basically build like a mini Kickstarter underneath it. That's more akin to some of the other platforms. And it's great. It just means when somebody's learning about your game, they're going to get more of a landing page with more information on it. So that wasn't available previously. We're excited and it's in place now. If you go, I'll drop a bunch of links in here, but if you go to that page, the Notify Me at Launch page, which I hope you do, you'll see that it's not just the banner. You can scroll down and get like a mini version of a Kickstarter page without rewards, and we didn't put as much information, but so that's new. Within the Kickstarter as well, the table of contents was in the previous campaign, but we've been using the table of contents. The editor's way better, so really excited about that. Also within the last campaign, the Nature Trio, they had introduced an expanded rewards and add-on system. So we use that to have our rewards and if you're going to add on any additional content. So we used that in the last campaign and it worked really well. Another thing, though, is, and this is now beta stuff, we are going to be participating in Kickstarter's Pledge Manager. So that's, I don't know how, we're not the first certainly, but it's a smaller set of groups right now. I don't think it's fully rolled out, but we're going to be using their integrated Pledge Manager, and that's different than Pledge Manager. So last campaign, it was new, we used Pledge Manager, which had some integration with Kickstarter, but it was like, this real our hookup just lets Kickstarter send us the information, but it's still just our own system. Mixed feelings about Pledge Manager. Some things good, some things didn't go so well. We gave them a bunch of feedback at the end, and we're reconsidering other options. And then the opportunity to work with Kickstarter came up, so we decided, hey, let's give it a shot. So as part of that, we're going to be charging shipping after the fact, because that's how they're doing it right now in that program. We've gone back and forth, but pros and cons of that, I've done in other videos. The other thing that comes with that, or is new, is they also now have late backers, late pledges. So as of our campaign, after the campaign's done, there'll be an integrated late pledge system. This is true to there are some games now that are doing this. We're not the first for all this, but it's not as commonly used. And so rather than basically hitting a link that will take you to a survey or to a pledge manager, which is what you currently would have to do, it actually shows the entire campaign page as if it's still live. I mean, there's some language changes, but it's there, and backers can not only read it and see all the stuff, but then pledge at the pledge levels. You can change some of the numbers in there, and we're looking at what we are going to do there, because usually you would adjust the pledge cost a little bit. Like when we do a late pledge, we typically make it $5 more or something. But we're looking at what the common backer expectation in the context of a Kickstarter one, because it sort of feels like there's the Kickstarter still running. And this is very different than BackerKit's Hype Train. This isn't like your campaign's still live, and as long as everyone's backing, it'll just keep staying live. This is just no, it ended, and now you can just have more backers. So it's interesting, and I'm excited to see how that goes. So, and I talked about the shipping after. So I'm pretty excited about all of these changes. These are all things that I think, improve the platform overall, and it'll be interesting to see how smooth it goes, and whether we hit the bumps and have the support we need. I mean, I think that it's interesting because at the pledge manager level, we're like getting a little bit more support than normal for Kickstarter. Like Kickstarter support is normally not that hands-on, and so and you want a little bit more when it comes to a pledge manager. So like that's something I'm going to be watching closely, and we'll just have to see. So on the marketing side, so yeah, I'll talk about the page as well. Well, I'll jump to the page and talk about marketing. So on the page, pretty standard approach for Pencil First Games. I think it looks very similar to our previous pages in the layout, table of contents. We continue to try to reduce the amount of tiers and not have too much reward tiers, keep that pretty limited. I think we have a pretty good approach with graphics and presentation. We have been adopting this thing that I really like. I don't know. I don't know if I saw it somewhere and then we took it, or if maybe there was something like it and we adjusted it. But basically, it's like above the fold, key information, sell the game, like sell it, like promote, like get people hyped about backing, and then have a graphic where you like that, hit back. If you want to learn more, then go to the 40 pages of like more stuff, and just trying to split that moment between this is the exciting stuff and giving the person a moment to be like, oh, I can just back now. I don't have to read all the stuff that other people might want, the how to plays and the this and the shipping and like it just becomes these monster campaign pages nowadays. And I like the split, and so we're going to continue to do that. We are going to, I think it's all like, we have a couple games, a couple of our classic games like Foliferous and Herbaceous that are going to get a reprint, maybe one more. And so we're going to probably have like a PFG new to PFG bundle thing, which will get, you get Vineyard and like 3, like it'll just be specific to like whatever else we might be printing at that time, just so that we can get all the shipping benefits and worldwide distribution. But that's probably it. Otherwise, it's going to be like one copy or maybe a single copy and a double. Stretch goals are all included, and we don't have a retailer tier, but we will have a note that says, hey, if you're retail and you're interested, you could reach out, and we'll have an email in there. So I think when you look at it, it's the real stuff is that Kickstarter stuff. All that under the hood stuff is very different. The actual page, I think, is pretty common to what we're doing. The other really big change or new thing is we're doing the same thing around previewers and reviewers and that kind of thing. We typically send out to a handful of folks who have been interested over the years to do a preview. Still, majority of those folks are non-paid previews. There's a couple that we end up paying for, like a how to play and that kind of thing. And then for those campaigns, we mark it above and below that this was paid content, and it just gives you, some of the different flavors of some print media, some social media, some video media, and so that's how we do that. And then in terms of marketing, though, we are using LaunchBoom. So LaunchBoom is a really interesting platform. It's not cheap. It's not like, I'll stick with not cheap. And it's like a combination of guidance, know-how, ad marketing, templates, program to try and drive and grow audience prior to a campaign and through a campaign. Now, they've been sort of lampooned a little bit or criticized for the introduction of a pre-Kickstarter backing tier. Like you can go in and say, I'll pay $1 now, a month before the Kickstarter, and to get a deal on the Kickstarter, to get an advantage. Some folks are doing it. I think it's interesting. We didn't do it. I didn't want to wade into that water, so to speak. So really our thing is basically building it's basically building a newsletter and building up your launch notification page, and they have a bunch of content. So I want to see the results. I think the way I thought of it is it was an opportunity, a learning, like I'm paying for a learning opportunity. I do think there's a lot of marketing crispness and language advantages they have. we'll see how the results pan out. But you know, it's certainly interesting, certainly new. And then as far as shipping, we're still pretty much doing the same thing. We work with Flight River Games for the United States, and they also handle our retail distribution down the road and our warehousing. We use ShipQuest or GameQuest for Europe and the UK, though that's an interesting conversation because there's this GPSR rules changing, and so we're currently figuring out how we're going to address that, and you know, what changes we need to make to text on boxes and partners. So there might be a little shift there between now when I film this and when it shows, or in the next month or so. And then we use VFI for worldwide, and they've been good partners. So that's all been about the same. Really, I'm excited. I guess the other like big thing for us is, so this is like a 45 to 60 minute game. It's still medium weight, but it's taking our nature line to a larger box. And I think it's fantastic. Roberta Taylor did an amazing job. Like, this is really great. I mean, like, I'm really happy with this game. It'll be interesting to see how it resonates with our players, their existing market, new market, you know, and how the price point comes into play. I don't think we've decided yet, but it's like we're looking at shipping. We're looking at like 45 or 50 with $5 off shipping or what. But see, it's not a 20, 30, 40. You know, it's a little bit more of a big box game, and it'll be more expensive at retail. So it'll be super interesting. It's always exciting to run a Kickstarter and to see how the market responds, how the game does, how the tools work. So anyway, as always, thanks for all the support to the channel, any support to the campaign. It's always helpful to have people aware of when it launches, $1 backs, like all that stuff. That little extra love from you all to just help get the word out for these campaigns makes a huge deal. So certainly appreciate that, and I hope this was helpful. And if you have a campaign and you're always interested in feedback or a quick look, I'm always happy to do that too. So anyway, this is Vineyard. Hey everybody, Edo here, and thanks for watching Gaming with Edo. Reviews over here on this playlist, League and Insider videos over here on this one. Subscribe, share, all that good stuff. But most importantly, play some great games. Thanks.